Have you ever wondered if the food you put on your plate today could literally turn back your biological clock by next month? It sounds totally like science fiction, right? Well, for decades, we thought of aging as this strict one-way street. But in this explainer, we're looking at some truly breaking research that is turning that entire idea completely upside down.
We are digging into a fascinating new paper titled Short-Term Dietary Intervention Alters Physiological Profiles Relevant to Aging. This was spearheaded by lead author Caitlin J. Andrews and her team and published in the journal Aging Cell. Instead of tracking people for decades, they asked a really practical question. If you radically change someone's diet for just a short period, can we actually measure a difference in their aging markers today? It's a totally different way to look at human biology, treating our physiological age not as a fixed number, but as a responsive breathing metric.
Okay, to really get why this matters, we first need to pull apart two distinct concepts. Think of your chronological age as the year a car was built. That's your birthday, the inevitable ticking clock, and you obviously can't change it. But your biological age, that is the actual mileage and engine condition. It's the physical wear and tear on your systems. You could have two people who are chronologically 70 years old, but one has the biological engine of a 60-year-old, while the other is basically sputtering along like an 80-year-old. So how in the world do scientists actually measure the condition of your internal engine? They use some pretty advanced algorithms, like the Clamara-Debal method, or KDM for short. Instead of just looking at one random thing, KDM acts like a master dashboard for your body. It pulls together a composite of various blood and clinical markers. We're talking cholesterol, blood pressure, inflammation levels, and it calculates if your body's internal engine is actually older or younger than your birth certificate says. What is absolutely wild about this study is how they actually set it up. The researchers recruited 104 older adults, all between the ages of 65 and 75. But instead of just giving them a pamphlet with some diet advice and hoping for the best, they completely controlled all of their meals. Every single piece of food was provided by a delivery program to guarantee absolute 100% compliance. But here is the real kicker. The most stunning part of the entire methodology is the time frame. The intervention lasted exactly 4 weeks. I mean, in the grand scheme of human aging, 28 days is literally the blink of an eye. Most scientists would assume you'd need years of sustained habits to even nudge those aging markers. Finding out what happens in just 4 weeks is a massive reality check on how incredibly responsive our bodies actually are. So, they took these participants and split them into 4 distinct dietary groups. They had an omnivorous high-fat diet, an omnivorous high-carb diet, a vegetarian high-fat diet, and a vegetarian high-carb diet. They used the omnivorous high-fat diet as the control baseline, simply because it was the closest match to what these older adults were already eating in their normal day-to-day lives before the trial even started. All right, let's get to the investigation. We've got our participants, we've got totally controlled meals, and we have our baseline. So, what exactly did the researchers discover after just 1 month of fueling these people with radically new macronutrient and protein profiles? Right before the diet started, the researchers took a baseline snapshot of everybody. Participants got their baseline biological ages derived from those KDM markers we talked about earlier. And remember, having a biological age that's higher than your chronological age is a huge red flag. It's highly predictive of mortality and age-related diseases. Lowering this number is basically the ultimate goal of longevity science. And this is where we see the massive breakthrough. After just 4 weeks, when compared to the control group, the participants on the omnivorous high-carb diet and the vegetarian high-fat diet showed a statistically significant drop in their biological age estimates. No joke, their physiological dashboards literally ticked backward.
So what's the big takeaway here? By simply swapping around macronutrient composition and protein sources, and by the way, without restricting how much food they could eat at all, participants achieved a distinctly more youthful physiological profile on paper. It's just a powerful testament to the fact that our biological age isn't set in stone. It is a dynamic, living, breathing metric.
But let's play scientific detective for a second. We really need to pause and ask the tough reality check question here. Did 4 weeks of new food actually reverse the fundamental aging process permanently? Like, did we just cure aging with some high-carb meals and plant-based fats?
Well, not exactly. The researchers throw in a very necessary, heavy dose of reality here. These metabolic and inflammatory markers shift incredibly fast. What we are likely seeing is the body's acute, temporary adaptation to a new, maybe cleaner, fuel source. Now, that highlights our amazing metabolic flexibility, but it absolutely doesn't mean the underlying permanent cellular damage of aging has just been magically erased. It is super important for us to separate a quick physiological shift from a truly altered aging trajectory. Going back to our car analogy for a second, if you put premium fuel and fresh oil into an old, sputtering car, it's going to run significantly better today. The dashboard sensors are going to look fantastic. But you haven't actually rebuilt the engine, right? Proving a permanent slowing of cellular decline would require a much longer, multi-year study.
And to be fair, even the authors themselves are explicitly clear about this. They want to make sure we don't overhype the results. We definitely haven't found a magical fountain of youth in a 28-day meal delivery plan. But having said that, we absolutely shouldn't ignore the sheer power this reveals. Nutrition totally dominates our body's metrics, and our systems are constantly, rapidly responding to whatever we feed them.
Ultimately, what this paper proves is that the metrics we use to define our biological age are incredibly malleable, and they react faster than we ever thought possible. Which leaves us with one deeply provocative question to wrap up on. If your physiological markers can demonstrably shift toward youth in just 4 weeks, what is your current diet doing to your biological clock right now? Definitely something to chew on.